Thank you everyone for joining us today. My name is Vincent Herrera and I'm from Heat Press Nation, and this is part 4 of our 5-part series. Today I'm here with Jimmy Lamb. How are you doing, Jimmy?
Doing great. How are you doing, Vincent?
So far so good. I'm really excited today. What are we going to be covering today?
We're just going to sit around and talk about how to make the best margarita. What do you think?
Well, I don't know if that'd be too helpful with sublimation, but maybe for some other time.
Yeah, maybe so. But no, what we're actually going to talk about today is your software options for creating graphics for sublimation. Okay. Well, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and get rolling here. The neat thing about sublimation is the fact that you can use really any good quality commercial graphics program to create your graphics for sublimation. So if you're already using, for example, CorelDRAW or Photoshop or Illustrator, any of these well-known good quality programs, that's fine. You can continue to use that for your sublimation system as well as any other systems that you're using out there. Nothing wrong with that at all. We do suggest that you pay close attention to what your graphics program is all about, because there are some graphics programs that people put out in front of me I've never heard of. And we've done a lot of testing with the image quality of what comes out of the Adobe Suite and CorelDRAW, so we feel very confident with those. But sometimes people come up with ones that we're not really sure about, and it could affect the quality of their image. And then I've had some silly questions, okay? Well, it wasn't silly the person that asked it, so I shouldn't have said it that way. But I did have somebody ask me, for example, can I use Microsoft Word as my sublimation graphics program? And I was like, no, I mean, it's not a graphics program. But their point was, I can put an image on the screen and I can print it. Okay, just because you can put an image on the screen and print it doesn't mean you can have a good quality that comes out of it, because there's a whole lot more going on behind the scenes, okay? So the reality is, no, Microsoft Word is not considered an acceptable graphics program, okay? All right, so with that said, I'm not here to tell you what's the best program to use. If you're going to do a lot of photography, for example, then most likely Photoshop is the best way to go, though you do have options to process photographs with almost any program, but true photography, most likely it's going to be Photoshop. If you're going to do a lot of vector-based graphics, then you're going to be looking at either Illustrator or CorelDRAW. A lot of people go to CorelDRAW because they feel like it's a little easier. There is a price point difference, but others choose to buy the whole Adobe Suite, which would include Illustrator and Photoshop. So you have to first of all determine what is it that I'm going to be creating, and then what's the best graphics management system to make that happen as far as choosing from that. Now, one of the graphics systems that I'm really going to focus on for you, though, is the only one out there that is sublimation specific, and that is Creative Studio. And Creative Studio was created by Sawgrass, and it is sold by Heat Press Nation as part of the Virtuoso printer system. Now, I said the word sell. The reality is when you buy your printer, Creative Studio comes with it at no charge. Okay, so there's no charge for Creative Studio. You don't go home and start paying a monthly fee to use it. Okay, you get Creative Studio when you buy your Virtuoso printer, and there is no charge to use it. Now, Creative Studio includes all kinds of really cool things, okay? Creative Studio has, for example, product templates. I'm going to show you what that's all about. It has art templates. I'm going to show you what that's all about. It has lots of art and design elements. Okay, we're going to show you what that's all about. It has, lots of fonts, and it's easy to use, okay, all those great things. So I'm going to demonstrate that for you, but I'll also, while we're demoing it, kind of, tell you how that maybe compares with one of the more traditional graphics programs. Key here is no charge for it. It works with our Virtuoso printers, and that's an extra bonus when you buy the printer. Now, if you choose not to use Creative Studio, that's quite all right. We have something called Virtuoso Print Manager, and it too is available at no charge when you buy a Virtuoso printer system. And that allows you to easily print and manage the color of graphics and photos and whatnot that you're creating with outside programs such as CorelDRAW and the Adobe Suite. Okay, so you can still use those without any problem, Mac or PC without any problem. So we got you covered. I mean, the key is that you need to be able to manage your images as they go through the system and control the quality as well. So let's take a look at Creative Studio. Creative Studio is an online-based program. The neat thing about being online, I know not everybody's thrilled with it, but the neat thing about being online is that anytime we make an update, you get it automatically. For example, we just did a major update in June and added new features, and they were automatically there, you know, the next time you open your Creative Studio, as opposed to having download, uninstall, reinstall when you're talking about programs that are on your hard drive. All right, so we're going to go into Creative Studio here and take a quick look at what we have there. So when we go into Creative Studio, one of the things that makes it unique is if you're using a traditional graphics program. With a traditional graphics program, you typically start off by creating your graphic, and then you adapt the graphic to fit onto a product. With Creative Studio, it's product-centric, meaning you choose your product first, and then you create your graphics for that product, which actually is a more efficient way of producing, you know, images for production. And to make that work, we had to go and put in templates for different products, real products, okay, real templates with part numbers on them to help you in the design process. Now, when you first open, you see our product wizard, and you'll see all these different categories there. So let's say we're going to make an award plaque. So I'm going to click on awards and plaques, and then I'm going to look at a drop-down list of all the different ones that have been preloaded in the system, and you can see there's a lot in here. And these are real parts. You can see the part numbers there. These are not just generic. Okay, so we're designing for the specific product. So I'm going to choose this particular plaque here, this 8x10, and we're going to work with it. This one comes in two different colors. Really, it's just the edge of it. Okay, it's like a wooden plaque with a wooden edge. Everywhere we sublimate would be white. I'll choose the brown edge there. And I do need to say, what's my orientation, horizontal or vertical? I'm going to stick with the horizontal. And I'm also going to choose my paper size that I'm using. That's giving information to the system that it needs to know. So here it is on the screen. And down there at the bottom, you can see this was made by Unisub, and there's the Unisub number. So that's the real plaque. Now, when we start designing for this plaque, we're working with that product, which is a whole lot better way to put together your graphic, to be honest. You can upload anything that you need into the system as far as a graphic. Maybe you already have a logo for your particular customer. But one of the neat things that we've done is put in art templates for people like myself who are not very good artists, so that we have something to start with. And so everything that I'm going to show you today is included with Creative Studio. And if there's any images I put in here, for example, that are my personal ones, I'll tell you. But pretty much everything you see is Creative Studio related. Okay, so let's say we want to use an art template. So we're going to click on templates, and we're going to see that there are a whole lot of different categories. Since it's an award plaque, we do a lot of things with sports, with award plaques. So we're just going to go ahead and take a category here, and now you can see all of these. All these are included in there, and these can all be edited. So don't get worried that it says Beechwood and you can't change it. I'm going to choose this one now that I said Beechwood and bring it in. Now, when we bring in a template, it's made up of different components, and we call those components objects. Some people call them elements, but in our software, we call them objects. And so if you can click on it, then you can actually manipulate the object. So as you can see me going through and clicking, as the box appears, we're able to manipulate that. Now, when it brought the template in, you can see that it actually fit it is the better way to say it, to the product that we're looking at. One of the things that the products all have built in on their templates is a bleed area, because it is highly recommended that you put in a full color background, or we call it a bleed. If it goes from edge to edge, we call it a full color bleed. And the idea in sublimation is that we actually make our background color slightly larger than the sublimatable area of the product. And that way, when we print it out and we're looking at the paper, we see an area that is sticking out on each side of the product. It makes it easier to line things up. So we went ahead and built in the bleed areas for this. Now, this bleed's a little hard to see. You'll probably come close to your screen, but if you were to actually get in you'll see where the brown frame is, and then you'll see a black area just inside. So that black area is the bleed area. Anything that's in that black area will print, but it's the white areas that's the actual size of what will be pressed onto. So you can see by looking at beechwood, a little bit of it's going into the black, which means it's going to print out, but it's going to be cut off when we actually sublimate the plaque. So what I want to do is just shrink it down a little bit. Being that it's made up of multiple elements, I'm going to click Select All, and that selects all of my elements, and then I'm going to reduce the size. And I can either do it from clicking in the corners and bringing it down, or I can use my little arrow keys over here. So you see I just reduced the whole size of the entire thing just a little bit. And let's see if we can see that bleed a little bit better with the zoom, just so you understand the bleed. Yeah, it's a little easier to see it when I enlarge it. So that little black area right there, anything that's in the black area will print, but it will not end up on the actual plaque because only the white area here is the same size as the printable area on the plaque. All right, so we have this in here now, and we can work with it in a lot of different ways. As I said, if you click on something, you can make some changes to it. So I clicked on beechwood. I can go up here and I can change the spelling. I can make beechwood smaller. I can make beechwood larger. And we can do it with the arrow keys. We can do it with our mouse if we prefer. I can move it. I can rotate it. So I'm just doing it here with the mouse a little bit just to show you how that works. I can rotate it. I can delete it. I can change the font. I mean, once you click on it, you can do all kinds of things to it very easily, okay? And it's very easy to work with. It's very user-friendly. Everything in here is pretty intuitive on how we actually work with it. Anything that, again, if we can click on it, we can probably change the color. And you look over here where you see color. So when I clicked on beechwood, you can see it's that purplish color. If I click on that, it gives me the ability to go in here and change that color. And I can choose from my sublimation friendly palette, or I can go out and create a custom color as well, or I could type in a specific RGB value. So I can easily control the color that we're using within Creative Studio for this. A couple other things that are really important to me, and I mentioned about those backgrounds, and I'm here to tell you from having sold products for many, many years that when we put in a full color black background, it does enhance the perceived value of the item. And if we can enhance the perceived value, then we can probably get a better margin when we sell it. So an easy way to add a background is to go look at some of the backgrounds we actually include. So we'll go into our image files. And here we have, by the way, those two images, not part of the system. Anyway, but we go into My Images, we can see we have lots of different background images that we can use. And I'm going to use this one here today. I'm not an artist. You may disagree with my choice, but I'm just showing you as an example how easy it is to put in a background and what it will actually do for you. Now, when this came in, it's not quite as large as this area. We need to fill in that entire white area. So I'm going to enlarge it. And notice how it actually cuts off. You see the box is there, but the system, nice thing about Creative Studio is it actually cuts things off so that you cannot print too large. Okay, it's going to print within the guidelines of the product template. All right, so what I did was I covered everything up. This is built in layers. This is the top layer. The last thing I added is the top layer, and what I need to do is move that down. So that object is selected. I click on object here, and then I'm just going to move it down. And as I move it down, that means it goes backwards within the design because we're moving it down or moving it back, however you want to put it. And once I move it all the way to the back, you can see all the other elements that come into place. Now when we look at this plaque, think about what we looked at a few minutes ago. All that white area was actually kind of boring. Here we've added some pizzazz to the background, and we also made the soccer ball jump out. Okay, we've really made that jump out. So the whole thing takes on a whole new concept and typically a higher perceived value. So I'm a big believer in doing that. Now, one of our recent additions to Creative Studio, another great feature for you to use, is what we call our product mockup maker. So I'm going to choose up here in my Zoom key, product mockup maker. And what it's going to let me do is create a mock-up or maybe a sample, a digital sample of this product, and then send it to the customer. So I can go and click Save and give it a name, and click OK, and now I'm going to save it to the hard drive somewhere, and I don't care, I can save right there, and that'll be fine. And now I could go email this to them. It'll be a PNG file, okay? So they can actually look at it and just say, listen, here's a great idea I wanted to show you, and while we're doing it, though, don't limit it to just one. Think of some other products that could go hand in hand with that. For example, maybe a license plate. So what I can do is I'm actually going to change the product but not change the graphics. So the graphics is going to stay the same. I'm going to go choose a different product. In this case, I'm going to use a license plate and choosing all of those things, and it's going to come into play, and the plaque's going to disappear. The graphics aren't quite sized correctly, but it just takes a moment to fix that. First thing I need to do is make sure that everything fits on the license plate. So I'm just going to reduce the entire design just by a very small amount. And now everything is fitting in the license plate. And now I'm going to select the background only, and I'm going to make that larger till it fills up the entire license plate all the way to the boundaries, okay? So here I've just created another product very quickly that, again, I can use the mock-up maker and then create another digital sample to send off to my customer along with that particular plaque. And so that's a really cool feature. By the way, it's a new feature, but that's a really cool feature. It gives you a lot of marketing strength to be able to put these things together and send them out to people to look at, and hopefully upsell them and cross-sell them into different products. So that is just a little bit of what Creative Studio can do for you. But the main thing about Creative Studio is we're trying to make it fast and effective for you to be able to use to create things for Sublimation. I will tell you, and again, comparing it to, say, Adobe and CorelDRAW, this isn't a graphics program where you would actually design from scratch, okay? For example, if you wanted to go into the soccer ball and you wanted to reshape the size of these pentagons here, you couldn't do it, because all you can do is select the ball itself, resize it, move it, recolor it, those types of things, but you really can't change the true graphical elements that create it. So if you're really designing things from scratch that way, you know, traditional graphics programs may be better. But we certainly have in here enough different design elements that you can put together pieces to create some of these different things. I mean, if you don't want to start with a template, you see all these different listings here. And we have somewhere around, I believe it's about 9,000 elements in here, design elements, all included at no charge, okay? There's something like 1,200 templates in here that are all included at no charge. So all those things are in there ready for you to be able to put things together. You know, there's a lot of other features. I'm not going to train you to use it and show you every feature. I just want to introduce you to Creative Studio because it comes at no charge with the Virtuoso systems. It does not work for anything outside the Virtuoso printers, so it's designed to work with the SG400, the SG800, and the VJ628, all of which are available from HeatPress Nation. Okay, once you're ready to print this, you're able to send it out to your printer. And there's some kind of really cool little tricks here that we can do. And I'm going to go ahead and set this up for printing. So I'm going to click my print button, and I'm going to give it a name. I'm not going to worry about quantities here. They can be added later. You would only include a product bleed line if you didn't have that full color background, and then it would actually print a faint little black outline around the edges of the license plate to help you line it up. But I'm a big believer in those full color backgrounds, and that's the direction I would go. All right, so I'm going to click OK. And what it's going to do is it's going to save it, and it's going to save it into basically everything we go to print. It will save a copy of it so that we can get back to it later, okay, easily. In fact, it saves it in a couple of places, but it's going to save it in a print manager area, which I'm going to show you. and now it's ready to go. So if I was really ready to print right this minute, if I click here to print, it will send this single license plate over to my printer. And there's nothing wrong with that, okay? I mean, that's what you can do a lot of times. But I just want to show you one of the other options of printing that's really cool. So we're going to go into our admin. So I'll click over here, go into admin, and everything that I create gets saved in a jobs folder. And I got a couple of pages in here, but the one that we just did is right here, Beechwood. So let's say in actuality, I wanted to print, 4 of these, and that I wanted to do, because I have other jobs, okay? And the idea is to, when we print, is to maximize our printing by printing out multiple things at the same time, and also trying to completely fill up the paper. So let's look over here and pick up a few other things to send out. Here are some coasters, so I'm going to choose the coasters, and let's say we're going to do 6 coasters, and here are some plaques, and I'll do 2 plaques, and yeah, maybe we'll do the cell phone cover here too, and we'll do 4 of those. Okay, so what I've done now is I've selected several different jobs and several different quantities, and I'm going to tell the system to print. And when it goes to print, what's going to happen this time is it's going to send all of this out of Creative Studio and into what's called our Virtuoso Print Manager, which also comes with your system when you purchase, okay? And the Virtuoso Print Manager has just opened, and we see this Print Manager window. And there you see that license plate, okay? And if you look down here, it says there's 14 pages it's going to print. So basically, it put one item on each page. Watch this. I'm going to go through the pages. And you'll start to see that it doesn't really make sense in some of these pages that we're printing one item when we could print a whole lot. That's just the way to initially send it out. 14 images, 14 pages. But we have this really cool function here called Group Images. And when I click on Group Images, what it tries to do is group things together on the same page. So now I've dropped it down to 4 pages, and I'm looking through, and you can say, oh yeah, it's grouped, all those phone covers are there. They're a little close together. I can add some spacing. Though it bumped one over to another page when I did that. Okay, and so you can see that it's trying to put things in to take up space, okay? But you notice that we're missing stuff, and there's a little warning. 1 or more jobs do not fit with the current page settings. Well, the default page size is 8.5 by 11. It's too small for some of the images, that license plate for sure. So let's see, if I'm using an SG400, I can go up to 8.5 by 14 paper. And when I go to 8.5 by 14 paper, we now see that everything does fit. And you see how it has the license plate run this way because it's trying to maximize the use of the paper. And so you can see how the system has figured out how to put things together. You know, we still aren't using all the paper simply because we ran out of products to print, but it's doing a pretty good job of that. Now, what if I had an SG800, which has 11 by 17 standard size paper? We're able to get all of these things on 8 sheets. Remember, it started with 14. If you have an SG800 with the optional bypass tray, you can do 13 by 19, and that really changes things. Now we've got 4 pages, and we got everything on 4 pages. Remember how I started out? It was 14 pages with 14 images. Now we have 14 images on 4 pages. That's pretty cool stuff. The other thing that's really important within our Virtuoso Print Manager is that we do identify the substrate. These all happen to be unisub, but we do have other categories. We also have to identify our paper. All these things can affect color. You know, different papers can affect the color, so you need to identify what you're actually using. We have some different speed settings. Here we can mirror or unmirror, you know, images. We can go to color, and we can set it to be photographic or graphic, depending on what it is that we're doing. And then we would click print, and it would go print on the printer as we see it laid out with all those different settings there. Okay, that's our Virtuoso Print Manager. Now this I just printed out of Creative Studio. If you're not using Creative Studio, when you go to print, let's say you're in Photoshop, you're going to go to File, then click Print, and then you're going to see the Virtuoso Print Manager as a printer selection, and you're going to select it and you're going to send it to it. So you're still going to print through it. Now, one of the neat things is both ways I've described are basically exporting the image to the printer. You can also import the image in. So let's go to our Jobs tab. The Jobs tab shows the jobs that I sent from Creative Studio. Remember, there was 4 different jobs, but there was a total of 14 images. So at this point, I could also change the quantities if I wanted to. I could delete something, but I could also add more. This is cool. I can import by using the plus key. I can import from my hard drive, and I'm selecting on a different screen. That's why you don't see me selecting right now. But I just selected a design on a different screen, and that's going to import in and add to my jobs list here. So here it is. I brought in this dolphin design here, and it is imported in, and now it's been added into my print jobs. So if we go look, see, it added in all by itself on page 5. So that's a neat thing we can do too, is go and import as many things as we want, change the quantity here if we need to. By just, that one's selected, and we'll just change our copies, and maybe we're going to print 4. Okay, and now we can see where that, I didn't mean to print it, but now it's going to my printer. Oh well. So anyway, I didn't need to print it, let's put it that way. So, and that's a quick look at VPM, but let me show you a couple other things in the VPM real quick while we're there. Okay, so give me just a moment. I actually need to change screens in my system so you can see my other monitor. So our Virtuoso Print Manager, as I had said earlier, it comes at no charge with the Virtuoso printers. Works with PC, works with Mac. You can output to it from graphics programs such as Corel Draw, Adobe Elements, Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop. You can also import in. You can also import in designs. You can import a PNG, a JPEG, or a PDF. Okay, it can all be imported in using that little plus key. And there's another path to be able to do that as well. And you also, I'm fighting with my system. I didn't want to print that file, so give me just a moment here. Yeah, it didn't like me telling it that, so give me one quick second here, and I will get it all back where it's supposed to be. And I'm still here. I was just having an argument with the system, and I think I won. Okay, so let's get back and show everything live again. So with our Virtuoso Print Manager, if we go to this selection here, and it's always found on your lower toolbar, you just click on it to open it. Open local file, and that allows us to bring in files from anywhere that we want and bring it in. So let's say I'm just going to bring in that dolphin again just because I know it fits and works for what I need. And when I bring that in, it will then open the Virtuoso Print Manager, and then I can process it from there, whatever I need to do. I can do that, okay? But it also gives us the ability to change a few things. And this is a very, very important feature for the Virtuoso Print Manager. Again, you can use it with any of your different graphics programs. While we're mentioning that, I also will point out that you can use this to some degree for printing out of Silhouette, out of GraphTech, and out of Sublimation, okay? All right, so when we talk about color management, all these different things like the substrate, the paper, the speed setting, the color settings, all those affect the color management. And when you're printing digital color or digital graphics, the color that you see on the screen, it rarely comes out on the other side. But for sublimation, as we're printing, once you have an RGB value you're working with and you're sending it off to the printer, within a graphic, there are different things, different variables that can affect the color as it moves through the system. And if the color starts to be affected, then obviously what comes out is not what went in. So the object of the color management system is to take a look at what are the input values that are coming in, what are the variables that are going to affect it, and then to try and compensate for those variables. And that's an important part up here under the materials, is to identify what it's printing to, the paper and those other things, and it's going to vary between jobs. Now, when you set up your Virtuoso Print Manager for the first time, it has something, it has what's called a hot folder. And the hot folder is the default folder that everything goes to. When you get ready to print and you send it to VPM, it actually goes into a folder called the Virtuoso Print Manager hot folder. And that hot folder has default values that you can set up yourself. You can set up these default values yourself so that whatever goes for printing, those default values show up here. Now, it paused for just a minute. It hasn't actually gone to the printer until I hit the print button. And it could be that, okay, these are my defaults, but in this particular case, this is going to go on acrylic. So I could change it to, the acrylic setting right here. And I didn't change the default. I just overrode the default for this one instance. The default stays there until I change it, okay? But we can override it on our print manager window, but as soon as it prints, it goes back to the default values. Now, maybe you're printing enough different things that you would like to have different sets of defaults for different specific jobs. You can create that. You can create as many hot folders as you wish. And to do that, you go to the admin, you go to Hot Folder Manager, and then you actually can create a job. You just click on the plus sign, and it will give you pretty much an empty hot folder, and then you can put in it what you want. So I just created the one called glass a little bit earlier. And for glass, if I'm doing glass products, I'm going to choose ceramic and glass as my substrate. I happen to use Text Print R. Let's presume that the majority of what we're printing to it is photographic, so we'll make sure that's selected. And I'll use the high quality setting. And then over here, I'll say what file types do I want to process. I probably want to be able to do all of them. Do I want to archive? Archive means that when you go to print, there actually is a true folder that will be on your hard drive, and it will save a copy in that hot folder of whatever you print if you choose archive. If not, it doesn't. Okay, it still saves wherever you originally saved it, but this is just one more save point. If you wish for it to go all the way through the system, you move the graphic to a hot folder, and you don't want that print manager to pop up where you can put in the overrides, but just go straight to the printer using the settings, then you would select automatically print, for that. But once that's set up and saved, okay, then that's another hot folder that's in your system. I put all my hot folders on the desktop, so they're easy to find. And so if I'm going to print out of Photoshop to the glass hot folder, in Photoshop, instead of saying print, I say save as, and I save it to the hot folder, and it saves it to the hot folder, which then activates Virtuoso Print Manager, and it's ready to print. So that's pretty cool, but it's ready to print with all those variables, okay? So that's a very powerful feature, and that's why I emphasize that even if you don't use Creative Studio, Virtuoso Print Manager is the tool to help you produce good-looking graphics, because it's helping to control the color and the quality of your images, and also to do it efficiently, okay, and with many different ways of being able to access into VPM. All right, so again, when you're buying a Virtuoso print system, which is the SG400, the SG800, or the VJ628, all of which we talked about in a previous webinar on selecting the right printer, those are all available from HeatPress Nation, and you will get at no charge. You will get the Creative Studio, whether you choose to use it or not. It's online based, so you'll actually set it up as an online, and it works out of the cloud. And then the Virtuoso Print Manager, which you would download and install. Okay, you download and install that to your system. So if you have those an update, you would have to install a new one. But that's what's going to give you the flexibility that you need for printing your Sublimation graphics. All right, so that is what I wanted to cover here. And then if you have questions, you can certainly ask those questions now. All right, so I do have a question. If I create a design in CorelDRAW, can I bring it into Creative Studio and use it with the various templates? Yes, if you create it in CorelDRAW, you can input or upload into Creative Studio. It must be a JPEG or a PNG at this time. It will not take a CDR. We would hoping that in the future you will be able to upload native vector type files. Okay, but right now, PNG, JPEG, and PDF, but PDF is not going to come out of CorelDRAW. This only works with Virtuoso, so if you do have a Ricoh printer, this does not work for the Ricoh. The technology and the color management and the ink are all different on the Ricoh than they are on the Virtuoso printers, and that's why it's only working with Virtuoso at this time. If you're working with the Ricoh, then you're probably using either our Power Driver or our Mac Profiles, and those are both good solutions, okay? And the Ricoh is a good printer. Additional questions? If I create in Illustrator, can I print from Virtuoso Print Manager? Yes. If you're going to output from Illustrator for printing, you would click on File, then you click on Print, and then in your printer list, you would see the Virtuoso Print Manager. You would select that, and then it would go to the Virtuoso Print Manager for printing. The other option is you can do a Save As, so you can save the file to a hot folder. And once you save it to a hot folder created for the Virtuoso Print Manager, it will go straight to the Virtuoso Print Manager for printing purposes. I bought my Virtuoso 400 in January 2016. I don't remember it having Virtuoso Print Manager. Very good point, because the Virtuoso Print Manager wasn't available yet. When you bought it in 2016, if you were using Creative Studio, then you would have been using Creative Studio Print and Color Manager, which later evolved into the Virtuoso Print Manager. If not, if you were using it with other types of programs, such as the Corel and the Photoshop, then you would have been using either the Power Driver from Sawgrass or the Mac Profiles from Sawgrass to make that work. So that's why you don't remember it. But it is available to you right now, and if you were to go to the Sawgrass website, you can actually download it from there anytime that you wish to do it. Will the vector lose its look if you downsize from vector to JPEG? Well, first of all, anytime you go to print, you don't print vectors per se. The vectors are created to bitmap files when it's going to the printer, so it's going to convert to some form of bitmap file. This is done through what's called a RIP process. Now, there are RIP programs you can go buy, but pretty much any program that runs a printer has some type of RIP function. RIP stands for Raster Image Processor, and a raster image is a bitmap image, okay? But they were created initially because you had to go from vector to raster to be able to print. So no matter what you do, when you go to print, even if you're printing direct to the printer from, say, CorelDRAW using a vector that was a CDR, it's still going to convert it over to a bitmap file for printing purposes. How well that converts is based on how well the software manages it. We have used the Print Manager directly from Photoshop and have ever had a problem. Will there ever be a plugin for Photoshop? Well, here's the thing, okay? Photoshop, if you're using the color palettes in Photoshop and using Photoshop for color management, it doesn't understand any of the variables in your sublimation system. It doesn't understand how colors may change due to the sublimation ink, due to the sublimation substrates, due to the paper. Different papers have different absorption and release rates. So yes, you can print straight to your printer driver from any graphics program, but a lot of times you will run into problems with colors not coming out properly, okay, because of several different reasons, but you don't really have a manager in there that's taking into account everything that can affect. Also, we have a spot color manager within the Virtuoso Print Manager, which allows you to really fine-tune spot colors. Now, with the spot color manager also, if you're creating your own palettes, which you can do with the VPM Spot Color Manager, you can upload those palettes into Photoshop, or you can upload them into Illustrator, and you can upload them into CorelDRAW, which means then when you're designing, you're using true sublimation color palettes instead of the color palettes that you find in those programs. Those color palettes in those programs aren't necessarily sublimation friendly, okay, because they've never been gone and tested out for sublimation purposes. They weren't really created for that. So if it's working great for you, that's awesome. But if it's not working for you, which is very possible too, then you have to look a little closer at everything that's going on in there. Okay, the design I create in CorelDRAW, do you save it to a hot folder or other folder? Now, when you just go to save, okay, just save it wherever, because a lot of times if you're in CorelDRAW, you're saving it as a CDR anyway. So as far as your true saving in CorelDRAW, save the way you always would, and as far as saving the file. For printing purposes in CorelDRAW, you have two choices with a VPM. The first is to click on File, then click Print, okay, so the File menu, then the Print is in that menu, and it will show you the printers, and you select the printer and you print to it, okay? And it's going to use whatever values are in the Virtuoso Print Manager default hot folder. The second option is that you're going to save it to a hot folder for printing. So the purpose of the hot folder is to apply those different variables to help compensate for anything that happens during the printing process. So in that case, you're saving to the hot folder simply to utilize the settings of the hot folder. But as far as preserving your design to use in the future, save it as you always would with CorelDRAW. And as far as taking images you create in CorelDRAW and putting them in Creative Studio, you can upload anything you've created into Creative Studio, but it has to be in a JPEG or a PNG format for the upload. Is there a way from Creative Studio you can print out the graphics or at least refer to them for clients instead of having to actually create the object? Not really, because it is a product-centric program. So you always start out with a product. I mean, you can start out with a blank canvas, and that's what shows at the top of the list is blank canvas, which just think of as a blank sheet of paper. You can always start with that and then put in a graphic image and then do the product mock-up maker to be able to show that. So there is still that one step of choosing that blank product. Is the Print Manager available for Mac? Yes. I have a lot of graphics from Silhouette, so I just bring them in by using the plus button, and it should look good going through the BPM. As long as that graphic is a PNG, a PDF, or a JPEG format. Okay, that's the key about importing, that it has to be in that format. But you can actually, within Silhouette, you can use your print function to print straight to the VPM as well. Okay, Vincent, are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm here, Jimmy. You know, I think it's just really cool how user-friendly, you know, Creative Studios really is, and how easy it is to create those templates you provide. It's like you're just dragging and dropping. It's really cool software.
Yeah, we found over the years that one of the greatest challenges for new sublimators is graphics, because they never used any graphics before. I understand that. You know, if you sit down in front of Photoshop and trying to create something from scratch with no knowledge, you'll be there for many hours, scratching your head. So the reality is we try to just simplify it, take out a lot of the great features of Photoshop that you don't really need to just set up a product and print, and just make it easier to use. That was our key. But we didn't want to alienate people that felt like they needed to use, Photoshop. So we made sure of that as well.
No, this is definitely a great option. If you're using the Sawgrass printer, definitely go ahead and download that. But go ahead, everyone that's registered, please check your email. We will be sending a promotion. Just allow about 24 hours for us to get that to you. But if you have any additional information or have any questions on the software or even on the printers, please call us at 800-215-0894. But thank you again, Jimmy. Did a great job, and I actually learned quite a bit of things today, and I hope everyone else did as well.
Well, thanks for having me in, and thank you everyone for attending. This is number 4 in the 5-part series. Next week is the final session, of which we'll talk about selling sublimation. So putting it kind of all together. So anyway, thanks everyone, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. Bye.
All right, have a great day. Bye.